The first duty of any government is to protect its own people. Now, just in case you weren't 100% sure that we are being run by incompetent fools, take a look.
Watch how chaos explodes inside Parliament as Nigel Farage takes aim at Keir Starmer, and what happens next leaves the entire chamber stunned. Accusations fly, tempers boil over, and in a moment no one expected, Reform MPs storm out of PMQs entirely. Is this political theatre, or a sign of something far more serious unfolding in British politics? Before we continue, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Britain Daily. It's completely free, and it helps us keep bringing you the hard-hitting stories that matter. Let's watch this explosive clip.
Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Smash the gangs. That is what the Prime Minister promised us. Trust me, I will stop the boats from coming. But 70,000 later, and 1,000 in the last week, and too many young men that pose a threat to national security. Is it not time to admit Smash the Gangs has been a total abject failure, along, frankly, with most of his other policies? Isn't it now time, he told us, as summer approaches, what is Plan B?
Well, Mr. Speaker, this is from the man in the party that voted against giving law enforcement counter-terrorism style powers to tackle it. So he wants the grievance, he doesn't want it sorted. And he has absolutely no judgment. He again said, let's join the war, let's all go to war. I want to make it perfectly clear he wants the war. A week later, screeching U-turn, we don't want to go to war. And he says, trust his judgment. Mr. Speaker, it's hard to take anything he says seriously. He promised lower tax, and now reform councils are hiking council tax by 9%. In Worcestershire, this is what he said about Worcestershire. He said, we took control of a virtually bankrupt council. I wish we hadn't bothered. He asked for people's votes, and then he abandons them. Reform don't want to solve problems, they only want to exploit them. I am thankful for the opportunity to change this country for the better. He says he wishes he hadn't bothered winning councils, because they're an absolute disgrace.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for the £35 million of funding announced this week to transform Crucible Theatre and keep the world...
Order. I want to hear this member's question, especially those who are interested in snooker. Dr. Mitchell. Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks about Monday's despicable attacks on the Jewish community? Anti-Semitism has no place in our society, and given the potential links with the IRGC, I hope the government will move faster to prescribe them as terrorists. And Mr. Speaker, as a former Secretary of State for Energy who granted licences for oil and gas exploration, can I make a judgment on this argument? The Prime Minister is actually right, and the Leader of Opposition is wrong. Mr. Speaker, the law is clear and I believe in the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, just before President Trump posted about his supposed negotiations with Iran on Monday, traders made hundreds of millions of dollars of extra bets on oil futures. This looks like Donald Trump giving his mates insider information so they can make themselves richer, while his illegal war in Iran makes everyone else poorer. This looks like corruption of the very worst kind. Does the Prime Minister share my fear that Trump is making his war decisions based on what enriches himself and his friends rather than what makes peace in the Middle East?
Prime Minister. Well, can I thank him for his verdict? At least he's read the law that she obviously hasn't read. But, Mr. Speaker, in relation to the traders, we've seen the activity there. What I can say is that all of my decisions are based in the best interests of our country, and that's why I've decided that we will not get dragged into the war, unlike the Leader of the Opposition, and I've decided we will act in collective self-defence of ourselves and our allies. And so I comment on my actions, and they're the principles behind my actions.
Red Davey.
Mr. Speaker, if Trump's war pushes up energy bills by £500, the Chancellor's very narrow plan simply won't cut it. And while I don't fall for the crocodile tears of the leader of the Conservatives, who cheered on this illegal war without a thought for the impact on people's energy bills, and the government is right to reject repeating Liz Truss's blanket cheque approach. But, Mr. Speaker, the government can't ignore the millions of families who don't get benefits, who already face a cost of living crisis. So can the Prime Minister at least guarantee to all those families and pensioners that he won't let their energy bills go up by £500 this year?
Let me say my verdict. He's right about the Leader of the Opposition wanting to join the war, and she's wrong about that. At least he's read the legislation that I'm being challenged on. It does help. It does help. At least he's right. It was the leader of their party that said, let's all go to war without thinking through the consequences. We're now discussing the consequences. Mr. Speaker, in relation to the support, we've made clear the principles, the approach we'll take. We'll keep this under careful review. Energy bills for households are frozen until are capped until the end of June. It's really important I make clear that that's whatever happens in the conflict, because I know the public are concerned about that. We will then put in place appropriate support and look at how we put the principles behind it.
Durham Paffey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks on the terrible Golders Green attacks? Mr. Speaker, rebuilding trust and integrity in our democracy matters deeply to my constituents in Southampton. Shamefully, it doesn't matter at all to some, particularly the senior Reform UK politician who has been convicted of taking bribes from Russia. Does the Prime Minister agree that there has never been a more urgent need to defend our country from hostile forces who would try to undermine our democracy? And will he set out what concrete steps he is taking to crack down on foreign interference in British politics?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank my honourable friend? He makes a powerful point. Mr. Speaker, the Communities Secretary will make a statement later on the Rycroft review, which sets out the stark threats posed by illicit finance. I can tell the House we will act decisively to protect our democracy. That will include a moratorium on all political donations made through cryptocurrencies. I hope that will be welcomed across the House. There is only one party leader who has shown he will say anything, no matter how divisive, if he's paid to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, the Prime Minister says that he's concerned about the cost of living. So can he explain why he allowed his government minister to give permission to Reform-led Worcestershire County Council to inflict that 9% council tax hike on my constituents?
Mr. Speaker, Reform have to take responsibility for their decisions, and they've moved out.
What you've just witnessed wasn't just another heated exchange in the House of Commons. It was a moment that perfectly captures the growing tension at the heart of British politics. Nigel Farage didn't hold back. His attack on the government's smash the gangs policy was direct, sharp, and deliberately provocative. By pointing to rising migrant numbers and questioning the effectiveness of the strategy, he forced Keir Starmer into a defensive position in front of the entire country. But what truly escalated the situation wasn't just the question, it was the response. Starmer didn't simply defend his policy. Instead, he went on the offensive, branding Reform as an absolute disgrace and questioning Farage's judgment. In the high-pressure environment of PMQs, that kind of language doesn't just land, it detonates. And that's exactly what we saw. Within moments, tensions reached boiling point. Voices rose, MPs shouted across the chamber, and the Lindsay Hoyle struggled to restore order. His repeated calls for calm were drowned out by the sheer volume of outrage echoing across the benches. And then came the defining moment. Reform MPs stood up and walked out. That walkout wasn't just symbolic. It was a calculated political move. By leaving the chamber, Farage and his allies sent a clear message. They believe this government isn't listening, and they're willing to make a spectacle to prove it. But here's the bigger question. Who does this moment benefit? For Farage, it reinforces his image as the outsider willing to challenge the establishment head-on. It's confrontational, it's dramatic, and it grabs attention. For Starmer, however, it's a more delicate balancing act. While his supporters may see strength in his pushback, critics will argue he lost control of the narrative and perhaps even the room. This clash also highlights something deeper, the growing divide in how Britain approaches one of its most sensitive issues, immigration. The debate is no longer just about policy details. It's about trust, leadership, and whether the government can deliver on its promises. And when those questions go unanswered or appear to moments like this become inevitable. The chaos, the shouting, the walkout, it all reflects a parliament under pressure, a system being tested in real time by rising political tensions and public frustration. So, what happens next? Will this confrontation push the government to rethink its strategy? Or will it only deepen the divisions we're already seeing? One thing is certain, this isn't the end of the story. It's just the latest flashpoint in a political landscape that's becoming more volatile by the day. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Britain Daily for more deep dives into the biggest political moments shaping the UK today.